this week's episode, we have a special guest from the Shock Factory. A couple fellas coming up to show us how to rebuild and recharge rebuildable snowmobile shocks. Stay tuned. The guys from the Shock Factory just showed up here at the shop, so we're going to get started on this shock program.
Okay, here's some Articat ACT shocks. Basically, they're a knockoff of a Fox shop, or a direct copy by the looks of it. And they're basically rebuildable. There's oil in part of it, and then there's a piston in there, and then there's nitrogen in the other part. It charges up to 200 pounds through that port right there. And the beauty part about it is as the shock wears out, you take it apart, you clean it up, put in oil and recharge it, and it's like a brand new shock. So, and basically for seals in these, there's an O-ring that goes on the IFP, which is an internal foamy piston. Just a standard O-ring. And then there's seals that seal the rod and the oil in. There's a dirt wiper to keep the ice out, the dirt. And then there's a pressure seal, goes in there next. And then there's like a quad ring, O-ring, goes in there also. 3 seals in the cap, 1 seal on the floating piston.
Okay, the tools you need, basically, it's just not much. Allen wrench set, O-ring picks of your choice. You need a 9/16 wrench. That usually takes the valve out, plus takes the piston off the rod. 1-inch open end wrench, that usually takes that off. Which are pretty much standard tools anybody would have. The special tools you need are, you need a nitrogen supply, a regulator capable of holding 2,000 pounds pressure, and then regulating up to 300 pounds, 400 pounds, which you can basically buy at any welding shop type thing. You need a nitrogen fill, which is basically just a needle. Get this out of there. Basically, it's just a needle that you poke through. You pull that plug out, and then there's a rubber hole in there. Stick the needle through that hole, and that rubber is how you fill it, and you pull it out and the rubber seals up on itself, and that's stupid simple. But you need one of those, and basically all you need is this part here. The rest of it is just brass fittings. We bought the whole thing because we didn't know what it was and didn't want to screw around trying to figure it out. But little shut off valve. Now it's got to hold 2,000 pounds here. Or no, 200 pounds. So nothing really crazy. This is a little bullet so you can put the piston over the rod without catching on the threads. Piston rod holder, shock body holder, which these could be easily made in a machine shop or on a lathe or whatever. You need some sort of tool to measure your IFP depths. This is a little homemade tool. We just use a digital caliper, set the depth to here, and then push it in and set the depth. There's other special tools you may need, like spanner wrenches, different things like that. But this would be the basic stuff. That's all we have. We don't have anything fancy. So, let's take them apart.
Alright, let's see how much gas is in these. Alright, this one is got nothing. Well, I had that open. That's pretty stupid. But it didn't have much. Let's try this one with the valve closed. It's got 100 pounds. That should be shiny aluminum. That's the dirt in there from, I guess, the rubber and oil breaking down. Wear band down there, and then an O-ring in there to seal that off.
Okay, here's your internal parts. There's the cap without the seals and stuff in it. There's your IFP. Internal floating piston gets a wear band. This wear band. And an O-ring in that groove. And that seals the oil from the nitrogen. And then this is the piston. And these thin little washers are the valves. And that's what gives you your compression and rebound. And basically, these are just little flat washers that will basically warp as the oil goes through. The oil sneaks through these passages here on the side, and then the stack determines on how fast the oil comes out the holes. The bigger the stack, the slower it comes out, the more compression and rebound you got. Rebound is, we put them on the little bolt here to keep them straight, just the way they come off the rod. I believe this is the rebound here. It doesn't have many washers, so you just slow it down a little bit, but a lot of your washers on your compression so you don't bottom out. We'll get some seals put in it. Get back together. Okay, here's the new seals for the cap. The O-ring goes down. I don't think you can see the grooves, but there's 3 grooves in there. The top groove is the red one, which is an ice scraper dirt seal. This one here is a little bit softer. That's the pressure seal, goes in there second. And I don't know if you can see the groove down in there. There's a little O-ring goes in that. you gotta do is you gotta get the oil purged out. Since you had it apart, that valve stack has got air in it. Got a new O-ring. You reuse the old wear bands. Never really change them. There probably is some sort of wear limit. I don't know what it is. Okay, so that floating piston needs to be set at a certain depth. And now we reset this to a certain depth, which was 1.250. So we got that set. And you just use that. Kind of like that. It is a mess. Alright. And you also got to work the air out behind that. You got that set now. Air worked out. A little tiny set screw goes in there, plugs the hole. Pour out the extra oil. And then there's the air valve. It's got that little piece of rubber in there, and that basically seals off. The needle goes through the rubber, charges this nitrogen in the cylinder, and you pull it out, and this rubber seals up on itself. And I just go up and down one time with them just to see. How it feels. You can tell if there's air in it. There'll be a big spot. It moves real easy. Okay, there's your nitrogen bottle on our regulator. Charge about 200 pounds. We use our tool that we deflated them with. Or discharged them, whatever you want to call it. Deflated for idiots like us. And there, you got your nitrogen shot in there.